What's good, everyone? Welcome to the CANDU Sports Show. We got your hosts, Scott Blair, and
Donray Bennett, how do you do?
what's good, everyone? We got a lot to chop up. We got men's and women's tournament time. We also got NBA playoff push, and we got some closing thoughts. So we're going to get to it. Um, wow, UConn won the men's national title. I don't even know what to say, Don Ray, because they just killed everybody. They just beat up on
Yeah,
everybody. I mean,
it was
shout
it
out,
was it
right?
was dominant. It was expected. Purdue put up a fight though.
Yeah,
It was competitive, even though it wasn't really.
ish.
Um, yeah, wasn't too much in doubt, but it was competitive. I mean, the same on the other side as well.
Yeah.
In terms of the women's game.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But just to give a shout out, right, to Edie doing it was cool to see Purdue on the stage. It's been a
Hmm.
minute, right? Glenn Robinson, Gene Katie, let's just drop all the names. Cool to see Gene Katie in the stands get a little bit of love because he built that program and Coach Painter, I think, was one of his players, right?
I
So
think so. Yeah.
awesome. But hey, salute to UConn, first back-to-back champ since the Billy Donovan, Joakim Noah, my favorite
Yeah.
bowl. Back-to-backs,
Yeah.
amazing, just an amazing run.
Yeah. I mean, beginning and start to finish, they were solid. Great team. Great team. I mean that they
Yeah.
really operate as a team. They're fluid. Um, Shout out to them, especially in the age of NIL and transfers and whatnot, to have that much cohesiveness on the court on both sides of the ball. I mean, if you tune out the announcers, you can hear them talking on defense, which Kelvin Sampson says is a great sign of
Yep.
good teams versus bad. You can hear them talking, and it's there's nothing to be said that hasn't been said already. They're a great team. They deserved it. Kudos. Shout out to Coach Hurley and his squad.
And we should just mention the fact that when we talk about college basketball, I think most folks go to Duke, they go to North Carolina, they go to Kansas. It needs to be UConn, right? Since the women's first championship with Rebecca Lobo, which was almost 30 years ago, but in 30 years, they have won what, 17 national titles for basketball?
Crazy,
Six on the men's side,
crazy.
11 on the women's side. 11? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we have these traditional blue bloods that everyone recites and whatnot, but when you look at it, when you look at the amount of chips that UConn men's, Villanova men's, when you look at what they did in the last 10, 20 years, as you just said, 30, but I mean, they've won more chips than your Kansas and Dukes and UNC's. I mean, it's quite impressive. We still live, especially those in our era, our generation. I mean, I can't. I even still think of
Gen
Roy Williams
X?
as a Kansas coach. You know what I mean? Even though
Yeah.
he's UNC through and through, but like in my head, sure, it's the Kentuckies and the whatnot. But when you think about it, they really have. I mean, they won one chip on the Calipari. Um,
And now he's in Arkansas.
and now he's in Arkansas. But during that time, Jay Wright won two, three, two, two. Um, no, it should have been the one that
Yeah.
1 year when
Yeah.
Reynolds really, I don't want to relive old memories, but they call that travel and all that nonsense.
KU?
Um, but the point is, there are some programs out there that have been much more prolific in the last 2 decades. Um, and I don't think it's going back. I mean, if anything, the well, maybe NIL money may do some things, but I think differently. I think your Southern programs are going to start to show up. Your Texases, your Texas A&Ms are going to come out of nowhere, TCU or whatever, that oil money, SMU type stuff. But so I don't know that we're ever going to go back to where these traditional blue bloods can be considered that. I mean, UCLA has been, you
Norm.
know, yeah. I mean, they had a good team. What, 2 years ago they made a run, but or a year, 2 years ago. Um, but at the end of the day, I think we got to stop with this Duke, UNC, Kansas, UCLA, Kentucky being the epitome of college basketball because it
Because
hasn't
UConn's
really
here.
been that.
Because UConn's, I
Shout out to
mean,
UConn. Yeah, UConn really has been, and they've done it under different
yeah.
coaches, right? I mean, Hurley just went back. They just went back to back.
Yep.
I mean, Kevin Ollie came in
Kevin
what,
Ollie.
his first or second year one,
Yeah.
and they beat that, unbeatable freshman squad with AD and whatnot at Kentucky. And then you
Yep.
got obviously Calhoun starting it off. So
Salute to the GOAT, Jim
it's been
Calhoun.
impressive. They've made an impressive run. Great programming. Um, Shout out to Ed and J Chuck alum, former football player, close friend of mine, who I got to watch some of the tournament with, and he's on cloud nine still as we speak. So
Love it.
shout out to the crew.
Love it. Same here in the Blair household with the UConn win. Syracuse allegiance here, but for everybody else. And just for a hot second, we should wrap up the men's side with the news the night before the championship game of Calipari leaving for Arkansas.
Sure.
And Kentucky, you ran your boy out. You did. In a lot of ways, you did. He had a nice
Hmm.
15-year run there, though. Hard to believe he was there for that long.
Yeah.
Um, but salute to him because he had a purpose. He wanted to bring guys in. He had a particular way of doing it, um, and he did develop young men
Hmm.
into really good men who, of course, are doing good things at the NBA level.
Sure.
Focus on character and all those things. They didn't win. They won one chip, but there's all that there. And I was going to Arkansas. Nolan Richardson. Let's see if they can reawaken the echoes, Arkansas
Yep.
Razorbacks and Scotty Thurman and everything else.
Absolutely. But shout out to Calipari because he
Yeah,
knows what he's doing and he knows
yeah,
the risk he runs in the way he recruits, which is get those big names. But then he understands the student, the person and their
yeah,
familial needs. And so he's very honest with them and saying, I can get you NBA ready in 1 or 2 years. To his team's detriment, he knows, more season. You got to have some seasoned seniors, some high caliber juniors and seniors to win a chip. Um, but he's okay with them going and get their money as long as he feels they're prepared as a man to take care of their needs and be responsible. And he's okay with that. And
yeah.
he's been successful. I mean, look at the amount of his alum in the NBA. And I used to think he was a little dirty at Memphis. I haven't always been a big fan because I was always
Right.
a Cheney fan, at Temple, and he was at UMass,
That
and
infamous exchange.
back in the day. But I've come around on him because I've seen what he's put into his players as a person,
Yeah,
which you don't see on the court. And so
yeah.
it's flashy, and it may not always come all the way around. But kudos to him, and I hope wish him all the luck at Arkansas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. And one last thing, Arkansas, Corliss Williamson. I loved Corliss Williamson at Arkansas. Just saying, shout out. So let's flip it over to the women's side now, real quick. We've got the WNBA draft in just a couple of days. But of course, championship is wrapped up. South Carolina champs, Dawn Staley, the GOAT. South Carolina has lost one game in 2 years, and they got one chip out of it. Amazing. Also, salute to Caitlin Clark for an amazing career at Iowa, and she did help shine us a bright light on the sport because people like the three, people like the long ball, as they say in baseball, right? So there's something to that. But what are you thinking as we put a bow on the NCAA women's tourney?
Well, I mean, I do want to get into
I know you
first
do.
and foremost Dawn
Go,
Staley.
go to it.
Dawn
Let's do it.
Staley, we get Dawn Staley.
Philly, Philly, Philly.
I mean, yes, she's North Philly, so I love her already. We have the same birthday, so I love her even more. But then when you add the fact that as a player, I had no idea the things she two-time player of the year. She's won three Olympic gold medals. In college, she won,
Man,
two times player of
I
the
didn't
year.
know. I forgot she was May 4th. Man, yeah. Happy birthday.
Yep. She got the most outstanding player in a Final Four. They didn't even win the chip. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's as a player. And then you go to coaching where three titles, 7 years. She's the fastest to 100 wins and the most winningest coach at Temple when she left, right? Then she goes to South Carolina and is the fastest to like 200 or 300 wins or whatever it is. And oh, by the way, has transformed a program into absolute dominance. She There aren't enough flowers to give her. And then when you see all these, videos and whatnot of her just vibing with her team in ways that I'm not, we've had this discussion off air before in terms of do men need to coach men and women need to coach women? The answer is no.
Correct.
But is there something about the culture that is, because we know it's about relationships and being able to build trust and develop these young people. Can you sometimes do more when you have a better understanding of what they're going through because of certain things, culturally speaking, that you have in common when you share the same, um, journey? I think the answer is yes, and and she has just done so much for the women of that program. When you see that how much support her alumni have and how she still supports them, she's just got something special there. And I love it. I'm for it. And I want to give her all the flowers that everyone's giving to her. I
Salute.
want to keep giving to her. So shout out to her. And then for Caitlin Clark, kudos to her. I do want to say something that I think we overlooked. We kept talking about how you kind of had a short bench, you kind of had a short bench, and Iowa plays two people off their bench as well. I mean,
Yeah.
with the exception of like one or two games, they literally had. I mean, they had three of their, they had three of their starters play all 40 minutes. I mean, so something's got to be said to the endurance factor of that Iowa starting five, and they had a great run as well. And Caitlin Clark, contrary to popular belief, for some reason, I think she's going to do just fine and possibly transform that WNBA similar to what Curry did in terms of extending that three
Hmm.
point line because there's shooters in the WNBA, obviously,
Yep.
but are there those who will put up the volume that she does from the distances that she can? And will she get a coach that will allow her to do that? All those things stand to reason, but I'm looking forward to seeing Caitlin at the next level. And I hope she also takes Ice Cube up on that big three deal.
Same.
I would love to see that, um, because it'll be it's entertainment at the end of the day. So let's see it.
Truth, truth. I'm actually pulling up really quick. Christy Sides looks like is the current head coach with the Indiana Fever, which is the projected team that Caitlin Clark will be drafted to. A little bit of experience in the college level, Northwestern, working with Louisiana Monroe, but most of the experiences seem to be with the WNBA, with the Atlanta Dream, the Chicago Sky, and of course with the Indiana Fever. So we'll see how that translates there. Hopefully, they got a nice little squad there, though. They got Aaliyah Boston from last year's South Carolina
Right.
team, Blue Chipper from the draft. Plug in Caitlin Clark if they
It,
draft her, and I think they will.
the
Um,
one thing but the one thing you got to worry about is, I mean, it's no secret, the
yeah,
main stick in a side of WNBA is the business piece. Can it be profitable? Do they take advantage of opportunities? And with Caitlin Clark, I hope they still try to win first because I think it'll be very easy to say, hey, let her put up crazy volume. Let's make this a Caitlin show because we'll sell tickets, which we maybe haven't done as well in years past. We'll get on TV, we'll get the viewership. And it's true, but how much do you sacrifice for your team's success in order to get, because that'll die out. If she's
right.
putting on crazy numbers, everyone's going to love that for a while. But if they are still the worst team in the league or if they're not getting wins, at some point that's going to get old. And so I hope they can find a good balance of her success, the spectacle that could be Caitlin Clark, but also ensuring that it's not at the team's detriment.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a special guest for us to bring on to talk about this a little bit more, the business side of the
All right.
WNBA in the future. But for those folks listening in from home, the Indiana Fever has a nice little squad that I think that they might surprise some folks this year, just being able to put Caitlin Clark in there. So I'm gonna
Sure.
shout out some names, right? We mentioned Aaliyah Boston, but a favorite of mine, I always liked her game when she was at UConn, is Katie Lou Samuelson. So I think it'll be great to see her. My daughter loves Lexi Hall, who's a former Stanford player. They've got some talent there. They've got some talent there. So we see how they
Mhm.
get things rolling there. So I want to say the same about Dawn Staley. I love that 2000 Olympic team with Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, and Dawn Staley. Just the way they played, just their everything. There was an amazing, I think, Nike commercial. The three of them,
Yes.
remember that one? Yeah.
Yep. And then they were also on the Martin show. A lot of people don't remember they were on the Martin show and
Classic.
they were so dominant. I mean, they were
Amazing.
just uh
Amazing. Those teams, 96, 2000, 2004. Just go, especially 2004, because there they had Super, they had Tarazi on the squad
Yeah.
too with Dawn Staley. But yeah, salute. She does it the right way. She's super Gucci on the sideline too, which is great. I love
Yeah.
the style that she'd be bringing to the games and just doing it right. Right. And just, y'all know my Kim Mulkey stuff, right? But Dawn Staley always comes correct when her teams played against LSU and there was that exchange after the game. What does she do? She represents the game, right? She respects the game. Um, and then she did the same thing, right? She gave the appropriate roses to Iowa and to Caitlin Clark for being able to shine the light. I saw something by somebody yapping about she should have done that beforehand. It's like, I don't know what that's about. Like,
Uh,
they won the game.
And,
Like,
can we also just say, I'm not saying that there's, how many South Carolina players are in controversial waters about their social media accounts?
exactly. They play, yeah, it's a great
How many of
program.
them? I mean, and they've got some names on there,
That's
and
what I
they've got
mean.
some people who are
That's what I'm
could
saying.
be. Come on, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
she's
what I'm
doing
saying.
something there.
She's
God,
doing
I
it.
love it.
It's
I would
amazing.
love to be an assistant coach on that team. Like if I
Yeah,
lived anywhere in the area, I would volunteer for whatever they need just to be a part of that type of atmosphere and see the type of leadership she provides.
that's what I'm saying. When it comes to women's basketball, Gino, Dawn Staley, like, and Tara Vanderveer does it right too. Just solid. And respect to Tara as she announced her retirement. Just an amazing legacy at Stanford. Yeah, wow. Well, that was fun. Basketball is now over for college. That's sad.
Well, WNBA will have a nice highlight on it. I know I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark,
Yep.
Aaliyah Edwards, Cameron Brink. Shout out to Daisha Fair from Syracuse University, who finished her career, I think. No, no, listen to this,
No,
right?
I know.
She
Go ahead.
finished her career, I think, third or fourth all time in points. If she wasn't playing this year with Caitlin Clark, the whole world would have been giving her roses. But because the two of them, right,
Sure.
completely getting ignored, I think she's going to get ignored in the draft, and someone's going to pick her up and watch out.
I would hope she doesn't get ignored. I mean, that those scouts'
She
job's
won't.
sole purpose is to look around and so, but we'll see. I can't wait.
We hoping she
Let's
slides. We hoping she slides to 11 so the New York Liberty can pick her up.
Well,
And
that's a good
then
transition. What are your thoughts about Monday's draft in the WNBA? And
I'm
who I
intrigued,
told you
Donray.
last week who I thought should go. What I thought would happen. But what are your thoughts?
Well, Caitlin Clark has to go one. That's without question. Everything she brings from the financial side along with the game, right? That has to happen. There's something about her going to Indiana too, just because it has Iowa vibes. How about I just say that, right?
Okay.
Um, but I'm enamored by the size. It is a draft that is loaded with forwards and centers between Cameron Brink, between Aaliyah Edwards from UConn, Cardoso from South Carolina, the young lady from Tennessee, who I think is projected to go number 3 in the draft. I think it's Rakia Jackson, if I'm thinking right. And then, of course, Angel Reese, who's in the mix there too. Those are all what? That's 4 or 5 people, 4 or 5 amazing talents from the women's game. And the LA Sparks have 2 picks, I think, in the top 5. So there have
Mm.
been projections that they're going to turn into like the Houston Rockets of the 80s, where you have the Twin Towers, right? Where you can have like
Right.
a Twin Towers dynamic. I think that's what they called it, right? With the Rockets when they had Olajuwon and was it Malone? Was it
Samson was it
Moses or Samson? Sorry, Samson.
Samson
Yeah, it
Robson?
was Samson. So yeah, because I think they're sitting at number 2, so they're probably going to pick Cameron Brink. And do they take Cardoso at 4? And then you have your 5, and I don't know how you're going to score around the basket if you've got the two of them there. That would just be amazing. So that's my thing. That's what I'm thinking.
Interesting.
And I'm hoping the
Interesting.
Liberty, if Fair slides to them, look out. Just look out.
That'll be what we should do is have a special draft episode and we kind of get Sid's picks, see what Sid thinks. Because
That'd be
I
fun.
would I'm not going to pretend to have the depth of knowledge that you and your household has with respect to the current landscape of makeup of the teams that are drafting. But one thing I learned, I think, from this past tournament is the importance of guard play defensively,
Yep.
because there's a lot of hoopers out there that can score, but not everyone can D up.
Right.
And what Anika did, even if it was in a losing effort, I mean, what she did, that for me, her draft stock went up when she comes out, because that is a type you need on the perimeter. If you're going to have these beasts down low, that's well and good, but they're going to get in foul trouble if you got someone like Clark getting to the hoop easily and whatnot. What if you put in a
Yeah.
defensive menace like a Nika on the perimeter, and then you have some size down low, man. And so wherever they go, I seeing that firsthand was amazing, because I thought some of these offenses, the way they were being run, just couldn't be stopped. They
Right.
were stopped. They could only stop themselves. And then when I watched that, um, and same thing with the perimeter D of South Carolina. I mean, the defense is really what was the separator in many of these big games that I watch,
Yep.
and not just defense, the perimeter defense. Because down low, I mean, if you've got the size, great, but there was a lot of traps and defensive sets that were able to kind of neutralize it to some degree. I mean, the big girls down low got their points, but it wasn't the differentiator. It was really keeping those guards in check, because they can facilitate, they can get deep. So I would love to see the I hope the perimeter defensive women out there get their looks, because it seemed to me to be the clear need for a championship team, because some of these guards are just it's just too much. It's I don't know how you hang with them for an entire half, let alone a game. You'll be, Dellavedova getting IVs in the hospital every night. The way some of these girls run around, I mean, it's beautiful. But and then you see what an Anika Mule does. And, I mean, that
Yeah.
just, to me, everyone's
Who's
talking about the
also going
points,
to
but
be in
that
the
was the
draft? Who's also going to be in the
that was
draft,
the
by the way?
oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's
So
down at
see, she was
UConn.
that was my favorite performance of the tournament.
Yep.
I mean, everyone's looking at the 40 points and this and that. My favorite performance of the tournament was a defensive performance in a loss that she had against Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. And she had,
Period.
yep. And she
No,
had
no,
two terrible calls against her by the
yeah.
refs who were not fouls. Like you clearly called it because it was Caitlin Clark.
So,
Yeah,
and if I'm a GM,
I'm picking her. Yep.
I'm picking her. I
No doubt.
period. That's my Caitlin killer. Period. That's a
Yep.
Tony Allen. She is the Tony Allen from what I saw. And shout out to you for even putting that on the radar, because it's kind of hard to see that when you're on a great team. But it was uh, she's going to be my gem then, and I would love to see where she goes.
Yeah.
Love to see where she goes.
A team's got to bring her in for sure. And she handles the ball really well too. And the fact that she was able to play defense like that and be the primary ball handler for UConn, right? The amount of stamina you need to have, like Nika Mule is just amazing. Shout out Croatia's own, right? So
Yeah.
shout out, shout out, shout out. I do want to just acknowledge that I just did a really quick view of the WNBA draft projections. And yeah, Fair is not showing up in the top 10, 11, 12 picks. And again, 3,000 plus point scorer career all time. Someone's going to bring in a freaking
Yeah.
spark plug. Like she just takes off. I'm thinking like, yeah, her game is just, I've got flashbacks to even like Pearl Washington, like just her being in Brooklyn would be super cool. Cause one, she played at Syracuse. We know that there's
Yeah.
a New York City Syracuse affinity. I think it would be awesome to see her with the Liberty, but anyone would be blessed to have Daisha on their squad. So she was a lot of fun to watch at Syracuse and Buffalo before then. So
Well,
amazing.
well, we'll wait to see what happens. Um, but we're getting to that time. So, you have any final thoughts, some parting jabs, some hot takes? What's on your mind?
Just that it was amazing to have these last couple shows to just chop up women's basketball in particular, right? We spoke a little bit about the men's game, but just women's game gave us so much. I'm personally looking forward to this carrying over to the WNBA, and I hope that that continues to grow. I hope this is the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson moment. Um, but yeah, my last comments are going to be two things. If Shout out to our previous guest, Coach York, talking about his Phillies. If y'all following him on social media, as promised, he's still continuing with his Philly stuff. But I'm thinking about him with my Bulls. Because he said, I guess the Phillies, I just have to be happy with them being in the wild card. I guess as a Bulls fan, I just have to be happy with them being in the play-in game because it seems like that's all they're really striving for. Locked into the ninth seed. Um, they're destined to maybe get the eighth seed and get swept by the Boston Celtics. Like that just seems like that's what it's going to happen to them. Um, but Tiger Woods, it was a lot of fun to watch you on Thursday and Friday. You look good, man. And just the fact that we were able to watch you with all the stuff that happened with your accident a couple of years ago. I hope folks watch him this weekend at the Masters and just enjoy being able to see him compete in the same spirit of just enjoy watching LeBron James. Just enjoy Caitlin Clark. Just enjoy these amazing talents as opposed to getting into this. Is Michael better than LeBron? He is. Um, Conversations. Just enjoy it. I did that for you, by the way. What closing thoughts do you have?
Sure. Um, yeah, I would have shout out Embiid, Maxey, and my Sixers. You know what I mean? The
Go
run that
ahead.
they're
Way to
doing right
go.
now, they actually, if they win on Sunday and the Pacers lose to the Hawks, which probably is going to happen, but Orlando could lose to the Bucks, um, then they get into the sixth seed. He's just amazing. I mean, I can't say enough about them. Hoping that they have a deep run. But my parting comments is on the Philadelphia Flyers. I know I keep saying we want to give some time to hockey and we don't, but here's why it's hard from a Philadelphia standpoint. This team has
Here we go.
died,
On the vine.
absolutely died, embarrassingly. And now here we sit. We're we're 1 point out of the last playoff spot, but we're giving a game to the three teams ahead of us. We have no real shot of getting in, but why should we? When you get destroyed by everyone, and then you show up one morning, you wipe the coat out your eyes, like, oh, we got the Islanders, one of the top teams in the league. We'll go ahead and um, smack them around a little bit, and then go ahead and lose their last. Like it's just so frustrating
I'm
to
enjoying this right now.
try to support something that doesn't have, especially when you got a natural tan over here. There's not many of us running around caring what's going on that frozen pond.
Latin
And then
love.
I just want when they get that run, I know everyone got the shot in hockey. Eight seed is like it's not even a surprise if they pull the ups. They can. I just need one
Breathe.
time, just one time.
Breathe. Just breathe.
So
It's
anyway,
okay.
that's my parting shot. It's a disappointment. Still holding out hope with 2, 3 games left in the season that they can pull out some miracle. Very sure that they won't. But I apologize for not getting us a solid hockey segment in the last couple of weeks. But I also am now not sorry because the letdown is incredible. It's truly compared. It can be compared to the Eagles' um, drop from grace this past season from 10-1 to out in the first round on an away game. It's really comparable, believe it or not. The
Once the Stanley
absolute
Cup playoffs start, let's jump
travesty
in.
of the last 30 games have just been abysmal. So that's all I got
Let's
to say about that.
let's jump in. Stanley Cup playoffs. Shout out Pete Lycona. Let's jump in and chop it up. Chop it up. Hey, listen, my Blackhawks have 21 wins on the season. Like, I hear you. Like, they got 21. But we got our chips a couple of years ago, so I guess we have to just hang out and take it. So,
We should bring on. There's a special guest that we should really bring on for the
yeah.
hockey run, who also would be a good guest for collegiate athletics.
See, we're
So we'll leave
scheming,
that.
but we want to bring y'all
We're
because we know
scheming.
y'all love some guests. We're gonna bring some folks in.
Yes,
Hopefully, you enjoy
absolutely.
our entertainment here, but we're gonna
Yeah,
bring that in. So, yes,
absolutely.
so Puerto Rico, Venezuela in the house. Shout out to everyone. Hope you all enjoyed the content today. Enjoy the golf this weekend, baseball and playoff basketball and hockey. And until next time,
All right. Peace.
deuces.